Welcome to Students Incorporated. I'm your host, Mr. Jason. Join me weekly as my students and I bring you content that's informative, positive, fun, and uplifting. This podcast is created and produced with the help of students from the International Community School of Bangkok. Imagine setting a goal not just for a community or a country, but for the entire world. A goal built on hope, dignity, and the shared belief in our common humanity. That's exactly what happened when leaders from every corner of the globe came together to make a revolutionary promise for the future. That promise begins with a powerful idea. Every one of us is born free and equal in dignity and rights. That isn't just a nice thought, it's the core of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the landmark document adopted by the United Nations. But what is this declaration, and what do these rights mean for us today? In our schools, our communities, and our digital lives. Today, in honor of Human Rights Day, we're going back to the foundation to find out. Welcome to this special episode of the Students Incorporated podcast. Today, I'm joined by co-host Josiah and Proud, along with two student guests. But before we get started, let's hear our quote of the day and get some headline news.
For our quote of the day, we wanted to share the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the driving force behind the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. She said, "Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere." This quote reminds us that these big universal ideas aren't just for governments or international courts. They're for right here, right now. It means that the right to be treated with respect, the right to have your voice heard, and the right to be safe start in your own schools, on your own sports teams, and in your own homes. If we don't stand up for each other's rights in those small, everyday places, the global idea of human rights loses its power. It's a call for us all to be the ones who bring these rights to life. And that's our quote of the day. Now onto some headline news.
Thank you for a quote of the day. For our headline news, we're looking at 3 recent stories from around the world that highlight significant progress in the area of human rights. First, a major development from this past October, as reported by Reuters, a landmark Gaza peace and reconstruction deal was signed. After months of intense negotiations, leaders from Israel and Gaza signed a peace agreement the world leaders are calling a pivotal moment for the region. The deal not only establishes a framework for lasting security, but also creates a multi-billion-dollar international fund to rebuild critical infrastructure like hospitals and schools. Most importantly, it includes provisions for ensuring ongoing access to education and healthcare, making a critical step in upholding the human rights of the region's civilians. Next, a very encouraging report on global child welfare. According to the Associated Press, the International Labour Organization reports a historic drop in child labor. A new report indicates that the global number of children engaged in child labor has fallen by nearly 20 million over the past 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, marking the steepest decline on record. The report highlights that the most significant progress has been made in parts of South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. It credits coordinated global supply chain legislation and a major international push for increased investment in universal education as key factors. While challenges remain, ILO, the International Labour Organization, is hopeful this trend will accelerate. There is still work to be done, as nearly 138 million children are still engaged in child labor around the world. Our final headline takes this concept of rights into fascinating new territory, moving from the rights of people to the emerging legal concept of the rights of nature. As reported by the Associated Press, the headline is Ecuador's Constitutional Court expands rights of nature to protect key Amazonian rivers. In a recent ruling, Ecuador's highest court has significantly expanded the country's constitutional rights of nature to include 2 of its largest rivers. The decision grants the rivers legal standing, meaning lawsuits can be filed on their behalf to protect them from pollution. Environmental and indigenous activists are celebrating the decision as a major global precedent for protecting vital ecosystems. And there you go, 3 positive developments for rights across the globe. And that's our headline news for this episode.
Thank you for the quote in the headline news. The news stories really show that the conversation around rights is alive and evolving every single day, which leads us perfectly into our main discussion. And for this discussion, I'm joined by co-hosts Josiah and Proud and also 2 student guests, Sinsen and Enwu. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so for the first part of our conversation, we want to go back to the basics. We hear the term human rights all the time, but what does it actually mean? Sinsen, let's start with you. In your own words, what is a human right?
To me, it's like a set of basic things that everyone in the world deserves, no matter who they are. Things like the right to be safe, to have your own thoughts, and to be treated fairly. It's not something you have to earn, it's something you're born with.
Oh, I like that. That's great. And that's a great way to put it. Something you're born with. I've got a question for you, Inwoo. Why do you think it was so important for the world to come together and write these rights down in one formal document?
I think it's about setting a standard for everyone. If it's not written down, it's just an idea. But when you create an official document like a universal declaration by the United Nations, it became a promise that every country can agree to. And it gives people something to point to and say, this is the standard you promised to uphold.
Exactly, a global promise. That promise is born from a moment of global crisis after World War II. Now, Josiah, the idea of listing rights wasn't entirely new. How did foundational documents from different countries like the U.S. Bill of Rights influence the creation of this new universal standard?
That's a crucial part of the story. You have to go back to the creation of the U.S. Bill of Rights in 1791. After the American Revolution, people were worried that the new central government they had just created might become too powerful and infringe on their freedoms, just like the British monarchy.
So they needed a way to put up some guardrails. For our listeners who might not be familiar, Proud, what were some of those key rights they listed in the Bill of Rights?
Well, there are 10 of them. The first one is probably the most famous. It protects the freedom of speech, religion, the press, and the right to assemble peacefully. The next two deals with the right to bear arms and prevent the government from forcing people to house soldiers.
Wow, so those core ideas like freedom of speech were written down as fundamental rule right from the very beginning.
Exactly, and then most of the rest, from the Fourth Amendment to the Eighth, established rights in the legal systems, including protection from unreasonable searches, the right to a speedy and public trial, and protection against cruel and unusual punishment. The Ninth and 10th Amendments are about ensuring that people have other rights beyond just the one listed. The whole point was to create a list of things the government cannot do. The First Amendment literally starts with the word Congress shall make no law.
Yeah, the First Amendment goes like this. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government or a redress of grievances. It's a pretty powerful declaration and rule. Just like Proud said, the First Amendment protects speech, religion, and the press. Important freedoms that many countries still do not recognize. The Bill of Rights is a fascinating document. It's on permanent display at the National Archives Museum in Washington, D.C. It's displayed alongside the original Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. My family and I had the privilege of viewing these documents several years ago when we took a trip to D.C. It was a pretty powerful moment looking down at the foundational documents that helped create what we now know as the United States of America. Of course, they are held behind thick ballistic glass and protected by armed security guards.
That just shows how important the message is. It's fascinating to think the original documents are still around after almost 250 years.
The Bill of Rights was a framework of limitations, so how did that very specific national document become a blueprint for a global standard 150 years later?
Well, when Eleanor Roosevelt and the UN Commission were tasked with drafting a global standard, the U.S. Bill of Rights provided a powerful structural model. It showed that it was possible to formally list out and protect fundamental freedoms in writing. It gave them a blueprint for how to frame a document of rights. So the UN Commission drafted and approved the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, also known as the UDHR, in December of 1948. It's also recorded that 50 member states participated in the final drafting of the approved document and that 8 nations abstained from the vote. This document set out for the first time that fundamental human rights are universally protected and are for everyone.
And it seems like the biggest shift was taken that idea, a list protecting citizens from their government and turning it into a global vision of rights that people have simply by being human.
That's the perfect way to put it. They took the blueprint and massively expanded the vision beyond just legal protections to include those crucial social and economic rights needed for a life of dignity, like the right to education and healthcare.
That expansion is so critical. It really speaks to the idea that rights are about more than just legal protections. This brings to mind a powerful quote from Nelson Mandela, who said, "To deny people their human right is to challenge their very humanity." Proud, what does this quote mean to you?
To me, it means that our rights are not optional extras. They're at the very core of who we are. When people's rights are denied, whether it's the right to be safe, to learn, or to have a home, you're not just taking something away from them. You're saying that their life, their dignity, and their humanity are less valuable.
So challenging their very humanity, it's such a profound way to think about it. To make sure these rights were fully respected, the creators of the UDHR described them with 3 key words: universal, inalienable, and indivisible. Sinsin, what do you think universal means here?
I think it means they are for everyone, everywhere. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, what country you live in, or how much money you have. These rights apply to every single human.
Yes, exactly. And Enwu, what do you think about the word inalienable? It's a bit of a tricky word.
I had to look this word up, but it means that they can't be taken away. Like no one can decide you don't deserve right anymore. They are a permanent part of you just because you are a human being.
That's exactly right. They are a core part of who you are. So we talked about some of the history and principles. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss how these big foundational ideas apply to our lives today. So we'll be right back after this short PSA message.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Every child everywhere deserves a pencil, a book, and a safe place to learn. Sometimes we treat school like a chore, something we have to do, but for millions of children around the world, education is not a burden. It is a desperate dream. It is a fundamental human right that is currently being denied. Right now, poverty, war, and discrimination are keeping countless young people, especially girls, out of the classrooms. And when you close a school door, you close off a future. But here's the truth. Education is the most powerful tool we have to change the world. When we invest in learning, we don't just teach math or history. We break the chain of poverty. We reduce inequality, we build communities that are healthier, safer, and more peaceful. An educated mind is the first line of defense against oppression. So this week, I challenge you to look at your own education differently. Don't take it for granted. And take a moment to learn about the heroes fighting for this right, like the teams at UNICEF or the Malala Fund. A small action from you can help create a tidal wave of change. Educate yourself, advocate for others, empower the future.
And we are back with our second part of this episode. Now that we've talked about the foundation of human rights, we want to zoom in on what these ideas look like in our world today. For this segment, we're continuing our conversation with our student guests, Sinsin and Enwu. So let's start with something big. When you think about global human rights, what issue stands out to you the most right now?
For me, the biggest issue is access to education. There are still so many kids around the world who can't go to school because of poverty, conflict, or discrimination.
I agree. And I'll also add the right to safety. There are places where people don't feel safe in their own communities because of war, crime, or violence.
Those are powerful points. Here's something I've been thinking about. What do you think makes human rights so difficult to protect globally, even though the rights themselves are written and agreed upon?
I think it's because every country has different laws, different governments, and different beliefs. So even if the rights are universal, the way they are respected or enforced changes a lot.
That's true, and it brings up another question. What do you think is one big misunderstanding people have about global human rights?
Some people think human rights are only about big political issues, but really, they also include everyday things like being able to speak freely, access to water, or not being discriminated against.
Exactly. Human rights affect every part of life. So here's something for both of you. If you could choose one human right that the world should focus on improving immediately, what would it be?
I would choose the right to equality. So many problems begin when people are treated unfairly because of their identity or background.
And I'll choose the right to live in a safe environment. Pollution, unclean water, and unsafe housing, these issues affect millions.
Those are incredibly important. Now, with so many challenges around the world, how do you think young people, students like all of us, can play a role in supporting global human rights?
Even small actions can matter. Learning about issues, speaking up for others, joining school projects, those things add up.
Yeah, I think raising awareness is a big one. If people don't know what's happening, they can't help fix it.
You're absolutely right, Unwoo. You can't fight for rights if you don't know what they are. Awareness is step one.
And since we are celebrating Global Human Rights Day, we want to make sure everyone listening leaves with some concrete knowledge about what they are.
Every year on December 10th, it is Global Human Rights Day, which was just yesterday for us. It's a day that observed all over the world.
It commemorates the day in 1948 when the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or the UDHR for short.
Think of this document as the ultimate rulebook. For treating people with dignity, it outlines 30 basic rights that belong to everyone.
But for time's sake, we can't read all 30 right now. We wanted to share a top 10 list of the rights we think are essential to know.
Yes, number one, this is probably the most foundational right. So we should start with this one. It is, we are all born free and equal. We all have our own thoughts and ideas, and we should all be treated with the same dignity.
Number 2, freedom from discrimination. These rights belong to everyone regardless of our race, color, sex, language, religion, or political opinion.
Number 3, the right to life. We all have the right to live in freedom and safety.
Number 4, no slavery. No one has the right to make us a slave, and we cannot make anyone else a slave.
Number 5, food and shelter for all. We all have the right to a good life, with enough food, clothing, housing, and healthcare.
Number 6, equality before the law. The law must be the same for everyone. It must treat us all fairly.
Number 7, the right to privacy. Nobody has the right to come into our home, open our letters, or bother our family or us without a good reason.
Number 8, freedom to move. We all have the right to go where we want in our own country and to travel abroad as we wish.
Number 9, freedom of thought and religion. We all have the right to believe in what we want, to have a religion, or to change it if we want.
And number 10, the right to education. Primary schools should be free. We have a duty to learn and protect the rights of others.
That is a powerful list, and that's only 10 of the 30 listed. You can find the complete list with the other resources at un.org.
It really is. Listening to all of you read those, it's a reminder that these aren't just words in an old document from 1948. They are a promise we make to each other every single day. With these rights comes a heavy responsibility for all of us. We all have seen what happens when they are ignored, whether it's on the news, in our own communities, or even in our own lives. We know that when human rights are violated, it causes real pain to individuals and damages our society as a whole.
Absolutely. It puts everything we talked about today into perspective.
So it's time to end this segment. So I want to just say a huge thank you to our student guests, Sinsen and Enwu, for joining us on this discussion on human rights. So thanks for joining us today and talking about this heavier topic. As we head into the holiday season, we talk a lot about peace on earth. Human Rights Day is a reminder that peace starts with how we treat each other. So this month, let's make respecting human dignity our highest priority and then try to carry that into next year. If today's episode sparked a conversation for you, please subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. It's the best way to support our show. And as always, this podcast would not be possible without the hard work and support of our international student production team.
All music and sound effects are courtesy of Pixabay.com, a vibrant community of creatives sharing copyright-free images, videos, and music.
And we are signing off until next time. We are Students Incorporated, because your voice matters.